loud. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. Good morning.
Sound of our Teen Sports listeners, I'm your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
9 a.m. Welcome to Teen Sports Radio, where we celebrate the power of youth, wellness, leadership, and today, a little bit of history. We are proud to announce, all right, drum roll, please, that Teen Sports Radio, nice drum roll. Teen Sports Radio is ranked 23rd nationally under iHeartRadio. So give us all love.
Nice. Congratulations.
Health and fitness, right, Erica?
That's it, under health and fitness. They house over 10 million episodes, podcast episodes worldwide. So that's pretty darn cool. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, we do have 750 shows, but we just started releasing them a few months ago and they just took off. So the only way it takes off like that is because people recognize you. A funny side story, my mother-in-law was taking a couple to church here locally at St. Mark's, and they were singing. Her friend passed away, and they were doing the song. And when he walks into they're both visually impaired. The whole backstory of it, and they have their dog there, and they're all filing into her car. And the first thing he says when he sits down is, "Do you know Erica Salda, the Queen of Teen?" It's like, yeah. She looks at him. She goes, "Yeah, we listen to the show every week." So Bob, and she also added on that he's a Westmont graduate and apparently went to school with me. So Bob, thank you. You made my day that day. So I appreciate that very much. Another thing that we want to do today is we're going to introduce my son, John Salda, and he has a guest here, Caleb Richie, and they're going to talk about NIL. John was 15 going back when the show first started. 15 years ago, he was 15, and it was funny because it was in his bag at the time. Now he wants to be an influencer. He's all changed, okay? But he passed the baton over to Tommy Igen. Tommy Igen brought in Josie McCoy and then launched a whole segment of Teen Kings and Teen Queens. So for 15 years, we've been helping them all get into broadcasting. So we appreciate that. John Salda, say hello.
Hello, everyone, and here with me is my guest, Caleb Richie.
How you guys doing?
Yeah. So you'll start off the first segment today. What are you gonna call yourselves?
So we are going to call ourselves John and Caleb, but the segment is Wired to Win. And today on Teen Sports Radio, we're excited to introduce something that's changing the future of sports, quite frankly, for young athletes. It's called NIL, which is short for name, image, and likeness. So whether you're in high school, senior, dreaming of college ball, or already making waves, understanding NIL is really key to the future. So we kind of want to give a little bit of the history, and then my, co-host in a sense today, Caleb, will break it down how it works. Woo! So a little history. Thank you. Yes, very exciting. I missed out on this time. Yeah, me and Caleb both missed out on this.
We don't want to give out too much right now, okay? Because this is just the intro. Dominique, after they do their whole segment on the NIL, what's up next?
Well, we've got Ryan, and we have Sky, we have Dawn Sanders with us, we have Christine Marie and Alex Ramírez, we have Barbara is with us. We have lots of co-hosts today.
Right. So the second segment, what is Sky going to talk about?
He's doing stages of healing.
So he's on stage 3, I believe, right?
Uh-huh.
Then Ryan Quirk has got a story. What is he talking about?
I'm not sure.
That's what's so good about this show, right? It's a surprise.
But Ryan is an amazing storyteller, and I think that's part of why he's such a good author as well. He's redoing his first book, and it's getting issued as a redo, and it's a journey to self-mastery.
Nice. All right, Don, do you know what you're going to talk about today?
Yes, I'm going to talk about self-trust.
Self-trust.
Ooh,
I like
that.
All right, so we always like to, because we have a guest, we have John, we have Caleb, and then we have Christine Marie, our intuitive counselor. We've got a couple of minutes left. Christine, you got your cards?
Of course, I always have my cards.
All right, so John, Caleb, flip a coin. Who's going to get the reading today?
Caleb.
All right. Caleb, listen, tap in here. Tap in. Bring
Okay,
in all
Caleb.
your guys.
Yes.
You just need to tell me when to stop shuffling. So I'm just shuffling my cards. So tell me when to stop.
You can stop.
Okay. And now, do you want me to pick from the top, the bottom, or the middle?
Middle.
Middle. And do you want the top of the bottom or the bottom of the top?
Top from the bottom.
Top of the bottom. Okay. Well, what you picked is the Fool, which is
That's a good card.
Nice.
which is a powerful card about taking a leap of faith. In terms of the Fool, it's actually in the tarot. There's this. The major arcana has 22 cards, and today is Tuesday the 22nd, so this is very auspicious. There's 22 cards, and the very first card is a 0 card, which is the Fool. And the Fool takes a leap of faith and then goes through all of the other 21 sort of major milestones that every human being goes through. But over and over and over again, we get to be the Fool. We get the first time we leap, sometimes it's easier, and then depending on how we land, it can be more difficult. But really, it's about trusting your heart and trusting your gut, and letting your mind lead a little bit. But it's really important to know that while it needs to make sense to your mind, your heart really feels what's true and your body knows what's true. And I'm sure you have some sort of experience with that. Yes. Okay, so there you go.
That's a good card. That's a
Sweet.
great card.
Yeah.
All
Nice
so let's-
beginning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful beginning. All right, so let's do this. Let's give some love to our local community, and let's kick off with Wired to Win with John Salda and Caleb Richie. They're both in the house. We'll be right back with more after these messages.
Digging the dancing queen. Digging the dancing queen. See that girl, watch that scene. Digging the dancing queen.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
9 a.m.
Hello and welcome back. This is John, and we are Wired to Win. Today, very special guest, Caleb. We'll be kind of discussing and navigating a little bit of the history of NIL, which again is name, image, and likeness. And then my good friend Caleb will give a little brief overview of how it works. So a little history to this NIL. And actually a few years ago, in July of 2021, the NCAA finally changed its rules. For the first time ever, students were legally allowed to make money off their own name, image, and likeness. That's exactly what NIL stands for, and that's what we'll be talking. Really, before 2021, if you made $1 off your skills, autograph, signatures, anything that you were, monetarily using your name for, that was illegal. Get you kicked off the team, potential sanctions for the team, and we've seen this as far as history in sports. Now, my good friend Caleb will do a little bit of a deeper dive on how it works.
So yeah, how it works is, honestly, not every athlete gets an NIL deal. It's estimated that only about 2% of all college athletes have major NIL agreements. It's usually 1 or 2 stand-up players per team. NIL deals are competitive and are often based on your performance. So your social media following, how marketable your story is. In high school, you usually don't get approached. You have to start putting yourself out there, building a personal brand, showing leadership skills on and off the field or court. Some states have rules about NIL for high schoolers, and some don't. So check your local laws. Most big NIL deals happen after you're already committed to a college program. So overall, NIL gives athletes power over their future, but it comes with a responsibility. You're not just an athlete anymore. You're a brand. So it's pretty much all business.
Well said. Well said.
Anybody have a question?
This is so different, John, because before they had to be off of social media. Now they're on. John, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, Caleb and John. So in the spring now, I'm reading that athletes can jump into the portal and go somewhere else. And there was just a big major story about how Tennessee lost their starting quarterback. That must really throw the coaching staff for a loop, that they have to, because like you said, Caleb, only 2% of guys are getting these NIL deals. So it must throw them into a real tailspin if somebody they're really counting on, like their starting quarterback, jumps. I don't know what he did actually, so that he's not going to be there next year.
Yeah.
Talk about John. Talk about daddy ball. That's very important.
Great question. So the example you're using, the individual Nico, he's actually from Southern California, and he was a highly touted prospect. And I think people forget or get away from the idea of really what NIL is about. I mean, we're trying to avoid college athletes from sleeping in their cars, right? There's a level of comfort that's trying to be provided. Not everybody is blessed or fortunate to play sports like Caleb and I were in Santa Barbara and have the exposure to such a massive market. And unfortunately, what does come with that is a lot of agents, people that want to make money off them or see their future and their future potential and understand the monetary value. So a lot of these times, I mean, some of these agents, they're attaching a 20% fee to your signing bonus. I played for the Southern California Cardinals, and although I wasn't in this pool, I saw 20 plus people get drafted. And I mean, these kids were getting flown out from Florida, getting put in houses. And at that point, you're not really paying the bill right then and there. So I knew a lot of them. I mean, they weren't even really happy with the sport, but they had to play because, you know, somebody had to cash out for all the bills, the flights, the food, the housing. My friend Caleb here, I mean, he coaches an AAU basketball team. It's called 805 Academy. He's working with international players. Obviously, you know, he could tell better than I have, but he played international sports. And now he's, you know, trying to create opportunities for these individuals, young athletes that wouldn't otherwise be able to come here. So to your biggest point, yeah, the landscape has changed. It's going to be tougher and tougher. An individual like Nico, he's heard that the market for a quarterback and D1 was $4 million. Unfortunately, you know, this is alleged, I will say, but, you know, people in his circle were calling other coaches and that got tipped off to his head coach. And so, yeah, I mean, he's going to be the example going further. So to answer your question, no, I don't know if we want to just keep putting boards on top of boards, but there might need to be some middle level because it's going to get a little scary, I think, for the intermediate future.
Wow. Good answer.
Hey, John, I have a quick question. So what can these teen athletes do to protect themselves? You talked about it briefly with these agents out there. Is 20% on a signing bonus pretty standard, or would you tell these teens to negotiate and tell them maybe 10 or 15%, maybe 12?
That's actually, I'm going to pass this one off to Caleb because Caleb's doing this right now. Like he is in the.
Oh, how funny.
And the way he's going about it, I think is unique in the sense that more people should doing it. So I would love him to take this one.
Yeah. To answer your question, so first, check if they're certified or registered. Some states require agents to register for NIL. Second, ask a lot of questions. It's very important for you to ask a lot of questions and never sign under pressure. Good advisors will explain everything clearly and put your best interest first. If it feels shady, it probably is. So I probably wouldn't want to take that deal.
And go with your gut. What do you think about parents? I mean, is it mandatory guardian parent always there no matter what?
Yeah, they're under 18.
Obviously, if they're under 18, I mean, if you have an agent who's trying to get you there by yourself, that's shady for sure. That's a sign. That's a red flag. Get out of there.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
I believe certain, especially certain agents, some agents don't care for the kid's age. They'll try to contact the kid without their parents' consent.
Yeah,
so it's very important for the parents to be involved if the kid is underage, even if the kid is 18, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Nico situation.
Yeah,
I don't
think
he just lost out on 1.7 million looking for more. I mean, I think we all would agree 1.7 million to play a game seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's that daddy ball kicks in. Daddy.
Well, this is all alleged. We don't know.
Oh.
His dad may or may not be his agent. That is what we are hearing.
Yeah.
I guess that's another situation. What if your guardian or parent is trying to be your agent and you have like a Britney Spears situation now? Like, what are you going to do then?
Oof.
It's actually crazy. I think the one unique situation I would say is if you look at a guy like Lamar Miller, he had his mom from day one. And everybody said, you know, you wouldn't get this, you wouldn't get that. And again, you know, he played out, I think his 5th year after an MVP season, all to, be one of the highest paid quarterbacks. So in a situation like him, it worked. But, you know, if alleged rumors are true and your parents calling around other head coaches, then you ultimately lose your position or get kicked off the team fighting for more money. I think that's a scary line, right? But, you know, a lot of these individuals that are top prospects, their parents are taking them all these camps. They're paying for it. And so then they hear all these draft conversations and they're thinking, hey, you know, time to pay Papa and Mama back. It becomes a dicey road. I think you got to have really clear cut communication. And yeah, just keep that line open, I would say. But yeah, with family, like anything, people say with business, try to avoid situations. Well, this is a business now. And so if you're involving your family, things might get a little bit tricky to navigate, I would say.
Yeah, I was wondering, once you sign the contract, which kind of help can you have to, because it's like you're competing for your sport, but also for your image. It's like, it seems so stressful to me, and a situation that I will want to have help around me to handle with. So how can you support yourself?
I think that's a great question. Something that I really respected is the University of Colorado, Deion Sanders. He's very big on this with all of his players, and understanding, hey, I'm not, even if you got $1 million, he doesn't want it to be in one lump sum. He wants to put it into like a wealth management plan where they're getting paid out as salary. Because he's not, naive to the fact that you think it's a wise to give 19-year-old child $1 million. And on that note, we will take a short break.
Wow, I love it. He's a visual cure. I love it. All right, fantastic. Hey, listen, you guys are going to come back again. We've got Sky Ellsworth in the house. He's up next. Going to be talking about pain, stage 3, nervous system, all that good stuff. Fill up your coffee. We'll be right back. And this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
9 a.m.
Welcome back to Teen Sports Radio, everyone. This is Sky Ellsworth, and I'm a student at Life Chiropractic College West. And we are blowing through the 12 stages of healing, and we're just wrapping up the season of Discover with Stage 3. And Stage 3 is all about stuckness. But before we get into that, please go back and review the first stages and review everything that we've talked about leading up to this, because everything is energy. And we've talked about so many different ways to get familiar with how energy works on all of your unique and individual bodies. So please go find those. Find your favorite podcast platform. I just learned in the last couple episodes that we are all over the place. So please go find those, listen to them, and set yourself up for Stage 3. So stage 3, there's a little bit more energy in the system. In stage 1, we talked about starting to bring connection to the areas that are disconnected and starting to accept that sometimes things feel that way. And then in stage 2, we started to recognize that sometimes things feel really amazing, sometimes they don't. We started to get comfortable and familiar with different rhythms, different polarities, that sometimes we see things as black and sometimes we see them as white. And all of these differences, all of these contrasts are just a beautiful part of life, but they're all a part of us as well. Now that there's a little bit more energy in the system, we're going to start to feel stuck. We're going to start to feel like nothing is changing, like we're waiting, but nothing is happening.
I'm stuck.
You sure are.
I already know I'm stuck. I know.
And we're going to work through this together in a second, because stuckness is just one of those things that in order to move through it, you have to be there with it without trying to move through it. You just have to be able to sit in the stuckness and acknowledge it. And then eventually more energy will come. And once that happens and you start to move into stage 4, then transformation starts to happen. But in order to do that, we really have to accept that stuckness is okay. Most people, I said in the last episode, will only go through stages 1, 2, and 3 throughout the course of their whole lives, and they will never experience anything beyond that. Why is that? When we hit a sense of stuckness, or when we go from feeling really great to not so great, like we experienced in stage 2, it can really throw us for a loop. That contrast, that feeling of intense stuckness, can make us feel like we're failing at something, like we're not making progress fast enough. That's another one of the types of pain that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. When that happens, it's so easy to fall back into stage one, to fall back into that I'm suffering. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But being able to acknowledge and accept stuckness is really what moves you into that phase of instability where growth and change really start to happen that will transform your life in so many incredible ways. So, on to the practical part of this. With stage one, we went and we found 3 different locations with our hands together, palm on top of palm, fingers closed. We placed our hands stacked just at the base of our clavicles in position 1, then just at the base of the sternum, in the middle of the rib cage, middle of the torso in position 2, and then just at the base of the belly button in position 3. And we started to explore what it's like to breathe into each one of those locations and just acknowledge what it is. In stage 2, we started to recognize that one of those areas that we breathed into is really kind of challenging. And then one area is really easy to breathe into. And we said, okay, wow, sometimes there are these polarities and that's all these parts are me. Now in stage 3, we're going to take that area that felt really, really stuck, that felt really disconnected, really hard to breathe into. And we're going to stack both of our hands on top of that area. Erica, so I'm going to have you do it. You do it with me. In your case, we're going to go with position 2. You're going to stack your palms on top of each other. And what you're going to do is you're going to just breathe into this location and just notice what it feels like. Ooh, probably feel a little sense of stuckness. And that's okay. Now what we're going to do is with our palms stacked on top of each other, we're going to traction the skin that's underneath our hands up towards our head and then down towards our feet. One of those areas is going to be harder to pull your hands in, either up or down. What does it feel like for you?
Down is harder.
Down is harder? Okay, so you're going to keep your
Is that
hands in
bad?
that down. Nope, none of this is bad.
Okay. Just kidding.
So you're going to keep your
Okay.
hands in that downward position where it feels most stuck. Then you're going to go side to side. So you're going to go to the left. You're going to pull your hands to the left. Then you're going to pull the skin underneath your hands to the right. Which side feels more stuck?
Left.
Left. All right. So you're going to keep your hands right there on the left. Now you're going to take your hands and you're going to twist them with your skin clockwise and then counterclockwise. Which feels the most stuck?
Counter.
All right. So down to the left and counterclockwise. So you're going to find that position where it feels really just stuck. That's all those areas of stuckness right there. And you're just going to breathe into it. Really try to move your breath through. Oh, God, I feel so stuck. Sometimes stuff feels so stuck. Sometimes I feel like the most stuck person in the whole world, like nothing is moving and nothing is changing. Stuck, stuck, stuck. And that's it. That's stage 3. And that's just being with the stuckness, being with that greater level of energy.
My stomach's
and
growling.
connecting in with it. There you go.
Seriously, it is.
There you go. That could be a really good thing shifting for you.
Funny.
And that's amazing. These SRIs, they're called somato-respiratory integration exercises that go along with the 12 stages of healing, can be absolutely transformative. Sometimes I honestly think you don't even need to go to see a chiropractor or a doctor. If you can master all of these SRIs and all of these 12 stages, it can dramatically transform your life. And this concludes the season of Discover. And next week, we'll start to get into the season of Transform. In Transform, that's when that instability really starts to come in, and we can use that for growth and change.
It's funny because I do feel a little bit stuck, and I think a lot of it has to do with anticipation of certain things that I'm waiting to occur. But at the same time, I know that there's going to be a shift, but it still doesn't change the reality of things are just not moving. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're still stagnant.
Yeah.
But I don't have an outlook of an outcome that I'm there forever. It's just the anticipation. I guess patience is what I'm trying to learn through the whole thing. I just have to be patient because the universe has its own timeline and there's really no time. It's just a series of events. So this has to happen before this happens and this happens and this happens.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know what has to happen first. So you just, like I said, use your breath and have a positive outlook, and then just keep your mind occupied on other things because, it's gonna take its shape.
Absolutely. Do we have 1 extra minute?
Yeah.
We can use here?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I want to do one more thing based on what you just said. I want to start to energize that stuckness for you so you can start to move more into transform. You can start to see the other side of it.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take one hand and you're going to place it in that area that was really stuck.
Okay.
And you're going to go, for you, it was down,
Right.
left,
Down, left, and counterclockwise. Yeah.
So you're going to do that with one hand. You're going to find that position where it's really stuck.
Okay.
So you're going to slide tissue pull down.
Yeah. Down.
Left, and then counterclockwise. You're going to find that area it was really stuck, right?
Yeah, actually, it's tender too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're going to take this hand and you're going to bring it up to your nose.
Okay.
And you're going to close one nostril with your thumb and keep the other one open. And you're going to breathe in through one nostril and connect it in with that stuckness. And then you're going to quickly switch and block the other nostril and open up the one that was just closed. Now you're going to breathe out and then in through that one. And then you're going to switch. And you're going to start to go faster and faster. And connect the breath right into that area. There you go. Yep. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Stuck. Sometimes think they're stuck. But enough of this. Enough. And then when you're ready, let it all go. So what we just did there is we just took that stuckness and we added in a little bit of stage 4. So that was a little sneak preview for stage 4 to just kind of start to up level. Sometimes we can sit in stuckness so much that we forget what it's like to actually have enough energy to say there's enough of this. So that was just a little bit of a sneak preview for what the next stage is going to be all about next week.
Well, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'm excited to share.
All right.
How do we get a hold of you?
You can email me at thrivehivechiropractic@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, stay here. We'll be back with more after these messages.
It's my life. It's now or never. 'Cause I ain't gonna live forever. Like you said, I did it my way. I just wanna live right. Where have you been? You wouldn't believe it. It's my life. I ain't gonna be just a face in the crowd. You're gonna hear my voice when I shout it out loud. It's my life. It's now or never.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in every single Tuesday, 9 a.m.
This is Ryan Quirk, current coach of youth hockey in Santa Barbara and former athlete, and might be playing some more hockey next year. And today I want to talk about, specifically in sports, but also in life, how some doors closing can actually always mean that another door is opening. I remember I was 14 or 15 and I tried out for this top hockey team back in Boston, Massachusetts. If you're listening to this in California, you're like, hockey, what is that? That's what the Canadians do. Nope, it's also in America. It's growing in California as well. But I'm from Boston, where hockey is everything. People just live and breathe hockey. And I was 14 or 15 years old, and I tried out for this really top team called the Eagles. And I really wanted to make this team. They traveled the nation. They played all these tournaments. I would like, this would give me so much exposure. I wanted to play some college hockey at the time. And I tried out, and I remember the coach brought me into his room, and he said that I was the final cut. He said that you're a fantastic hockey player. He loves my development and to try out for the team next year, but that we weren't going to be able to bring you on. And I was crushed. I was heartbroken. I was not of the open-minded mindset that this could be an opportunity in disguise. I was like, how could that kid make it over me? I was getting jealous. I was like, he's like 4 feet tall. This is terrible. I was getting really upset. But, eventually I calmed down and I had to try out for a different team. I needed a team for the fall. And so I tried out for this other team called the Blazers. So I didn't make the Eagles, tried out for the Blazers, and I made that team. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise in many, many ways. When I made that team, I talked to the coach, and recently my family had gone through some financial troubles. And for anyone who plays hockey or knows someone who plays hockey, they know that it is an expensive sport. It is not cheap. And the season that year for us, like all the traveling and the tournaments, is going to be about $4,000. And my family at the time wasn't able to pay it. They were struggling. My mom was in between jobs, and my dad is a high school teacher. And so I talked to the coach. I said, hey, I'm really excited to play for this team. Thank you for giving me this shot. I don't know if I can play, though, because I don't know if I can afford it. And he was a super nice guy, even though he kind of had this very tough, gruff hockey persona about him. He was actually this really nice guy. And he said, well, how about this? Why don't you come over and do some work for me this summer? I had some kind of handyman skills. I was a landscaper. And he's like, why don't you help me build a new fence for my pool and, maybe paint some stuff and help me around the house. And don't worry about that season cost. We really want you on this team. I can tell you're a very skilled player. And so I did that summer. I went over. His wife even tipped me a little bit extra, like kind of gas money and stuff like that, which was super nice. And I ended up playing that season for free and had a fantastic year. I got exposure. I got talked to from different scouts, different prep schools. And so if you're an athlete out there and maybe you had a down year, an off season, you didn't make the team that you wanted to make, realize that could be a blessing in disguise. Life is not what happens to you. It's what you make of what happens to you. And later on, this is the final part of this story. That coach, his full-time job was as a lawyer. And my brother was in a bus accident. Luckily, he's okay. But he broke his arm pretty bad. And it gave him some trauma around that experience. And my hockey coach, who I never would have met had I not made that Eagles team, ended up defending him in court against the bus company that got him into the accident, and ended up, I'm not going to say the exact winnings from that trial, but won the case. And now my brother is never going to have to worry about a college fund or school or private school or prep school as a basketball player ever again. All because I didn't make the Eagles team and I had to play for the Blazers instead. So when one door closed,
Wow.
you realize that it might be the universe leading you down another door. That's something.
It is. That's why when something happens, and I'm not saying don't get yourself lost in the emotion of the loss, the guilt, the shame, the whatever, all the emotions, any emotion that you would feel. This is good. This is processing it. This is working through it. This is going. The worst thing you want to do, you don't want to bottle it up, because then you're not letting the new thing come in, right? So my youngest, John, same thing. He was trying with this traveling team run by the Cardinals organization down in LA. There's no reason why he should have not made it, but he was just having a bad day. Just a bad day. I catch it. It happens. So I actually told him to peel off his catcher's gear and give it to another kid that we took down there. That kid ended up making the team. Okay. Took my son's spot pretty much. And my son, I had to rip him all the way home. That wasn't one of those big mommy experiences. But at the end of the day, I called the coach. I mean, he's a friend of mine. I said, I need your help. I mean, he has to play. If you want to play, it's like hockey, whatever. There's not an off season. I got to find him a summer team. So he ain't working out a tryout. The tryout was in Carpinteria. I mean, that's like a spit down the road. So I don't have to drive to LA, okay, every weekend. And, shout out to Andy and Daryl. They give him a chance. And he said, we're full. And I said, fine. Well, while he's on the dugout, he'll wash your car. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't care. He needs to be on a team. So, and they had a son, Max. I made Max a co-host on Teen Sports Radio. It all worked in. He ended up getting himself into the rotation and starting at catcher, and life was just amazing. And he got the reps in he needed, he got the swings in he needed for the summer. And that following year was like his best year in high school. So I get it. And but then again, I made that call to Darren Spilla, and I said, I need your help. I need your help. I've been trucking kids down to him, for years, leaving Santa Barbara at 5, getting home at 1:00 in the morning. So shouts to him for helping me, and shouts to just not giving up. You just know it's not time to give up. So that's great. A great story. Try to, when you have those quiet moments, look out the window and just trust that the universe has got your back and to push you in another direction. I mean, try to get rid of the anger. I think the anger is the thing, right? And you're the psych guy. The anger is the thing that you don't want to put a wall in front of you. Right?
Yeah, I think what you said about the anger is so key. There was a high school baseball coach. I never played baseball, but I had a buddy on this team, and they were really nervous about about this upcoming playoff game. And so the coach loaded him onto the bus to go to their first playoff game, this away game, but they showed up early, and he took them to the hospital instead. And he walked them down the children's part of the hospital where, kids had cancer, kids were literally dying, and he was walking them back and forth. And he said, you guys are nervous about a baseball game, angry and pissed off because we broke our losing streak. These kids are fighting for their life. You have nothing to worry about. Go out there, have fun, play hard, and play for them. And I think they ended up winning that playoff game.
Crushed it.
It's really all about perspective. If you're a teen out there, you're looking for a summer job or an internship or anything, and you don't get it, you don't make the team, whatever. Never what I've learned in life does the universe close one door without opening up another one. So stay strong, keep an open mind, and watch where life leads you.
That's why the rearview mirror in a car is so small. Just not saying don't check it out every once in a while. So someone's gonna whack you. Okay, that's important. Okay, because that in life happens. Let me tell you, don't ignore it. Okay, trust that it's there. How do we get a hold of you?
You can reach me through my website, RQ Self Mastery, and that is where my new book will be out, The Journey of Self Mastery, where you can learn how to master your mind, your body, and your spirit to live a happy, healthy, and wealthy life for all ages, for teens, for adults, for anyone.
Nice. Elle, thank you so much. All right, folks, fill up your coffee. We'll be right back after these messages.
Let freedom ring. Let the white dove sing. Let the whole world know that today of a reckoning. Let freedom ring. Let the white dove sing.
We are back, and this is Santa Barbara Teen Sports Radio Show. I am your host, Erica, the Queen of Teen. Please tune in
Every single Tuesday.
9 a.m.
For Teen Sports Radio, I'm Don Sanders. DonsMassageOhio.com, 805-236-2684. Here to bring you a hygge. A hygge is a Scandinavian term for a comfy, cozy feeling akin to receiving a hug without actually receiving that physical hug. And today I wanted to talk about self-trust and through the eyes of a very important literary figure, a great friend of mine, reading him all the way through my childhood. And also, interestingly enough, the mentor I'd chosen this life, who was Japanese, and his country didn't allow at a certain time them to learn English. He soaked up Emerson through the skin, in translation. And so he was a transcendentalist, Ralph Waldo Emerson, the first major philosophical movement we had in this country. And in his essay, Success, keep in mind, this is 19th century diction. Self-trust is the first secret of success. The belief that if you are here, the authorities of the universe put you here, and for cause, and with some task strictly appointed in your constitution. And so long as you work at that, you are well and successful. It by no means consists in rushing prematurely to a showy feat that shall catch the eye and satisfy spectators. It is enough if you work in the right direction. Teens can use this wisdom to cultivate a spirit of keep applying yourself, never give up. I'm going to throw this out to the team. It's be yourself, right? And anybody have any thoughts?
This is Christine Marie. When I was a teenager, right as I was going to college, a good friend of my mother said to me, you just got to find that thing that you really like and keep working at it. Become an expert on that one thing. And people are going to really look to you that feels right to you. And then eventually you'll have something to offer from that thing. And I really liked that. And interestingly enough, I don't know, 30 years later, 30 something years later, Thoreau's done that for me. It's the one thing through all the other things I did in my life that I still kept. It was interesting to me, and I asked. And it's not just Thoreau; it's really about esoteric and spiritual, thinking about things like that. So that's really kept me learning, growing, living, thriving, changing, adapting, and I think that that's an important thing to do.
And I just also wanted to add, this dovetails, I think, nicely with Sky's segment when he was talking about the third stage. The self-trust is very important when you hit those places where you thought you were moving forward, all engine full ahead steam, and then you feel stuck. when you're in a stuck place, especially, then you have to really rely on what you've built up inside your reserves for trusting yourself to continue on your path, not somebody else's.
And doesn't that come to the time where it's about a pivoting? When you, and it just made sense to me. I saw it visually. You get stuck because you're going a certain way, so you need to pivot, which means you need to find your way in a different direction past that stuck point. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Barbara, you can probably speak to this too.
Yeah, and I actually want to link it to the subject we just talked about, the NIL. Like, I have a lot of trust in myself that I've accumulated throughout the years, but as a teenager, I was a mess. And having something like the NIL and having this pressure, I'm just like concerned about teenager or young people who are going through this pressure, because it removes them from their main goal, which is to do what they want. And to have the NIL and all those millions and dislikes, it can be so disturbing. So this is how I link it to what we just talked about.
Interesting. Yeah. So that name, image, likeness, when we're distracted by that, we might not trust ourselves or that part of ourselves that we know to be true.
Exactly.
That's a good point, Barb. That's a good point, Barbara, because when I went on a scholarship up to University of Oregon to play football, you could see around you, there were guys who could do the books and really excel on the field. And then there were those who partied really hard and then still tried to keep up with the books and keep it up on the field. And I would imagine they're a dying breed. I don't think in today's world with the NIL and everything that you can, get lost in that partying thing like some people do when they're experimenting as freshmen in college.
Mm-hmm. And now with social media, you'll be exposed right away. But teens, real quick, I wanted to say, don't always rely on being a professional or that NIL contract. Like Dawn was saying, Christine, trust in yourself and focus on your schooling first. That is your foundation. School is everything. Because you even see these players, these professionals, what are you going to do after your sport is over? What are you going to do after your career is over? You got to go somewhere. You got to do something. You could go into coaching, talent scout, other things like that. But I mean, it's not always a guarantee that you're getting into that field. So always focus on your academics first and trust in yourself that you'll do well there and then apply everything to sport.
Yeah, Alex, the average NFL career, quote unquote, is 2.5 years.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And academics as well as inspiration or your instincts or something, or the thing that gives you joy. I mean, you can integrate those into academics. You can use academics to swim through those, but really focus on be you. Everyone else is taken, right? That's what we say.
That's right.
Hey, you took my line, but that's good. That's a wrap for today's Teen Sports Radio, where we fuel the mind, body, dreams of the next generation. Remember, every day you show up, you grow. Every time you push past doubt, you win. So let's stay hungry, stay humble, and stay true to the greatness that's already inside you. We're going to catch you next time. This is KZSB AM 1290, the station that talks about Santa Barbara, where every place else in the world. Thank you, iHeart. Thank you, Eternity Ready Radio. Thank you, Laser. Thank you, Santa Barbara. God bless. See you next week.
I'm unstoppable.